Yeah, man, it's y'all boy, y'all homie, man, it's Beezy. Welcome back to another episode of the Muddy Mindset Podcast, man. We got a special episode for y'all today, man. Before we move forward any further, let me welcome back my brother and partner in podcasting crime, man, Milton Ashford II.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
What's up, y'all? Hey, family. Hey, family. Hey, so it's Milt. It feels good to be back with y'all today. Appreciate the love. Appreciate the energy. Now let's get into it.
Man, let's do it the right way, man. If you're new here or you've been rocking with us for a while, just know that the Muddy Mindset Podcast is all about shining light on systemic issues like gun violence and poverty, breaking down the roots behind the struggles in our community, and highlighting the resilience and success that comes from the mud. We keep it real, we keep it balanced, and we always put the muddy perspective front and center. Yes, sir, man. Let's get it. Like I said, today's episode is special. This is a milestone moment for the MMP. Y'all remember Milton from episode 4. He was the first guest to pop on the show, and I told y'all that Milt will be back to bless the mic in the near future. Y'all might not have been expecting him to be back so soon, but after that episode dropped, the feedback was crazy, you know what I'm saying? We got so much positive attention and energy that it only made sense to keep this momentum going, to keep this momentum moving. But that's not the only reason that Milton's here. Milton is somebody that I look up to, bottom line. You know what I'm saying? He leads his life with integrity. He's a man of so much wisdom, and he's added so much value to my life, both professionally and personally. And I just know he's gonna be able to do the same for y'all. So with that being said, you know, I owe my boy an official reintroduction. He's no longer a guest of the show, but now a crucial piece to the puzzle. He's one half of the Muddy Mentor duo. Ladies and gentlemen of the MMP, allow me to reintroduce to y'all the new co-host of the Muddy Mindset Podcast, Milt. It's an honor and a blessing to share the mic again and be able to build this platform with you, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. I appreciate the amazing introduction, man. You know, episode 4, man, was therapy for me. You know, but now stepping into this, you know, it's going to be more about my story, more about building something that amplifies all voices out here, you know, everybody that's grinding in the mud. So, you know, with this partnership and this duo, man, it ain't going to be about ego. You know, it's going to be about purpose, and I'm ready to go, bro.
That's what I'm talking about, man. Collaboration over competition. That's what we're here for.
Yes, sir.
And we got a lot to talk about today. We got some dope-ass youth submissions, a couple tales of trials and tribulations, and, you know, some community back-to-school resources that I got to tap y'all into. So, and so much more. So let's get straight into it, because this one feels like a banger already. So, like we just said, man, if you remember in episode 4, we talked about Milton's journey in the police academy up until this point. Today, we're diving into where he's at now and the lessons he's learned along the way. So, Milton, can you talk to us about, you know, what's been going on so far?
Yeah, so last time I was here, you know, I was deep in the grind of academy. But the truth is, I didn't make it through. I was asked to resign, you know, due to me failing one portion of the academy, which was a non-negotiable. You know, it hurt. I mean, it had me kind of questioning everything, you know, with losing my career so abruptly and losing my job, you know, something that I was working hard for. But what I learned is that termination it does not define you.
Right.
And it does not define defeat either. You know, most of the time it's a redirection. I realized that determination was bigger than one setback. You know, so I'm still looking to serve. I'm still looking to keep pushing forward. And right now I'm working to get back into the academy. So, you know, that ain't slowed me down. It just fueled me. So.
For sure, man. I like that. He said that ain't slowing him down. It just fueled him. For sure. And I'm proud that wasn't enough to, you know, throw you off your course. And hearing that, it reminds me of something that I call the force of average. And in a nutshell, the force of average is an invisible hurdle that the universe puts right, you know, that the force of average is an invisible hurdle that the universe puts up right before you hit a big milestone or accomplish a goal. You know, everything's moving along smooth, and then boom, something crazy out of nowhere just happens, and it makes you go, why me? And the whole point of this invisible hurdle is to separate average people from those who really deserve this shit. Like the only key difference is that average people let that moment knock them down and knock them back to their old habits and into their old ways of life or average ways of life. But extraordinary people, they recognize it for what it is and they push through. You know, these are the folks that don't stop digging, you know, 3 inches away from gold, because they know what's on the other side.
Yes, sir.
And I think that, you know, what you've been going through, Milton, is a clear example of the force of average. Milt, can you tell us what are some ways during the academy that the force of average showed up the most, and what are some ways that you dealt with that?
Man, so to be honest, man, the force of average showed up heavy for me right in academy, right in that those final moments. The doubt, the fatigue, the fear. All of those try to level me out. But what I really realized is that when the force of average shows up, that's when something big, something extraordinary is about to happen. It's really a test. Right. It's a test to see, are you average or are you built for the extraordinary? So I choose to keep pushing, and even when it hurts, even when you're looked over, you just got to understand what's on the other side.
For sure. And before we move forward, man, let me just say that nothing's wrong with being average.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there got to be people this might sound wrong, but there got to be people that's flipping burgers. There got to be people working at the grocery line and whatnot. Yes, there's nothing wrong with being an average person. However, if you aspire to accomplish extraordinary things, you got to be willing to sacrifice things that average people just simply aren't willing to sacrifice.
Exactly.
Let me share for me. One of my biggest force of average moments came when I had just turned 18.
Okay.
I didn't have much going on for myself at the moment, and I was hustling to make shit happen. But I always kept a steady job, so I wasn't doing the worst. But in my last episode, I shared that selling cribs, real estate, is what helped me put down that fast money.
Right.
And what I didn't tell the audience was how hard that transition really was for me. I didn't quit hustling because I was already making money off the houses. I quit to make room for that new opportunity to manifest. And at the time, hustling was proven. Real estate is what was uncharted territory. Mm-hmm. So the decision, it wasn't an easy decision, but deep down I knew what I wanted more. I won't lie, the force of average, it really hit me hard. And my accounts, they went negative. My car kept overheating. I almost stopped digging, even though there were deals in the pipeline and progress was being made. My basic needs weren't being met, and that was almost enough to wrap all that up. So something told me to stay focused. You know what I'm saying? And in that same week, my miracle hit. I somehow, some way, closed my first 2 real estate deals on the same exact day. Checks clear, same day. You know what I'm saying? And
powerful.
I was able to pay off my credit cards. I got a new car. Like I said, my last car was on its last legs. And I began to set myself and my future up for success. Mm-hmm. I ended up closing 5 deals that year. So, man, trust me, if you don't remember one thing that I said today, just remember that when you challenge the force of average, man, that breakthrough, it hits hard. And those lessons, they start to multiply.
So what I just got from what you said is that the force of average propels you from being typical and average to extraordinary.
It's simple as that. It's a universal test. All right, now y'all know the MMP wouldn't be the MMP if we didn't hear from the youth. So I posted a question to our socials to loop y'all into the conversation. And the question was, tell us about a time where you were going to accomplish a goal and something got in the way, AKA the force of average, and what did you learn from it? With this being Milt's first episode as a co-host, he's gonna read off some of these and we'll both offer some perspective. I'll get the shortest one out the way first. And that reads, I learned that I don't let none get in my way. The goal gonna get accomplished no matter what, period. And you, my friend, are gonna be the one that beats the force of average.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I mean, that's something, because I like to do a lot of self-talk too, and that's something that you can kind of, put in the back of your mind to just kind of tell yourself when things are going, things are rough. So I like that one. Yeah, I like that a lot. That's real. Before
you finish, I had a conversation with the person who put this submission in, and they said something last week that I had to highlight in this episode that is gonna stick with me probably for the rest of my life. They said that you never gonna feel ready because ready isn't a feeling, it's a decision.
Let me write that down. You're never gonna feel ready because ready is not a feeling, it's a decision.
It's true, man. You never gonna feel it, and it really puts things into perspective.
Indeed, and that's mainly because feelings change. Feelings change, and if we base our decisions based on how we feel at that time, when our feelings change, right, the circumstances are gonna be different. So it just won't add up.
All right.
So, yeah. I like that. Yeah,
man.
That was a good one.
You can read yours off.
All right, so this one is a little lengthy, but it says, "It's never too late to turn your life around. I'm 17, and I've been through things that a lot of adults haven't even experienced. There's a lot of things that's played into my decisions, such as a lack of guidance, feeling alone, losing my best friend to violence, and the biggest catch of it all is being a product of my environment. I went from having all A's in elementary to going to school 2 days the entire freshman year. I have been shot, went to jail numerous times, and I have been fighting depression for years. I'm glad to say now that I have a clothing line. I have maintained a job longer than I had before, and I even play sports. More of the story is, it's never too late to turn things around. Find motivation, no matter how little it is, and push your life to become great in whatever it is."
Dang, man, that's great.
That's great. That's a great turnaround, man.
Man, before we move forward, bro, I know this young man personally, and I just want to say sorry that you've been through everything you've been through. A lot of time, people are always focused on what's wrong with somebody instead of what happened. You know, when you only came to school 2 days out of your freshman year, that was a clear sign that intervention was needed, and you know, hopefully you got the support system that you needed, and you already know that you know your buddy mentors on the Muddy Mindset. We got you.
Oh, we got your back for sure. You know, there's a lot of youth out there that are struggling. So for the youth that are struggling, you know, find someone that you trust, right? Not saying find anybody and just tell them how you're feeling, but find somebody that you can confide in, and you know, just be honest and be open about how you feel. And you know, I'm hoping that person can help you, but I'm pretty sure if it's someone that you trust, they can help you, right? And then for the adults, you know, let's be less judgmental. Let's put ourselves in a position where youth can approach us. So let's be approachable. Also, on top of that, man, you know, we have to work on our own mental health. You know, and you know, so that the youth can see us as somebody that they can trust, right? Because we're doing the work. It's gonna take some work, man. But if we all, you know, do our part, you know, we can help save these youth.
For sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely, man. So look, man, we just gonna get into our next submission because this is probably the longest one, but I do want to share that every time I drop these questions on our socials, I offer some incentive. I put some paper to the question, and this submission is the one that won it because first, it's the longest one. Second, it took a real sense of vulnerability to be able to share this on a public platform. Obviously, it's anonymous, but to get this off your chest, this is what I promote. This is what I love to hear. So this is what got that incentive. So it reads, long story short, college. You know how niggas get with the football. All I ever wanted to do as a jit was go pro and show what God blessed me with. We had All-American games, combines at NFL fields, and some more shit, but after graduation, I had no help, guidance, support from nobody. Didn't even know how to fill out an application. And it was kind of scary to think about going to another city with no support system after just being a kid for 18 years. I had to man up and understand you walk this thing called life alone. And whatever you want to do or be in life, study, do it for you, and put your all into it yourself, because it's very rare for somebody to come help and save you. You would think that they would, friends, family, whoever. It was one person, an old coach who believed in me, had a college connection for me to do what I do best, but it was kind of far from my hometown. I wasn't born rich, not even that stable. I come from the definition of poverty. So as a young black man, it was kind of a business decision to hold back on school, because I know for a fact I was gonna have to build my own wealth while trying to complete the mission. And I couldn't possibly think about working, school, and playing ball at the same time, which isn't impossible. But for me, that honestly was a lot of pressure. With that being said, I most definitely look back and say to myself, I should have just up and left and gave it to God, because where I'm at now is 100% worse than trying to work and play ball at the same time. One thing I feel the younger generation need to hear is to take every opportunity and believe in you, no matter of how scared you are, how alone you are, that the opportunity could be a lifetime blessing. And that was his submission, man. And like I said, man, you had to be real vulnerable to share that. And you know, I know sometimes looking back on hindsight, you wish you just took that opportunity, but more opportunities will come. You just got to be ready for them. You know, that's what luck is, when preparation meets opportunity.
Yes,
if you're
sir.
prepared, then you'll find that opportunity again. And it might not be boiled, but it will be within your passion.
Yep. And life is nothing but choices, you know? You either choose one or two. And at the end of the day, it's all still the mission, right? So even if you make a choice and it takes you a different direction, and you just got to keep pushing and you know, just make the more sound decision on the next time.
Right.
So, yep. So out to that youth, man, just keep pushing, you know? And like he said, take every opportunity and, you know, and just believe in yourself.
Right.
You know?
Look, man, so now that we've heard from the youth, let's take that momentum and talk about something that's relevant to them. You know, it's mid-August. School is right around the corner. And things are making a huge transition. And I'm not really sure if it's for better or for worse. You know, Milt, there's obviously an age gap between us. And, you know, I know that our high school experiences may not be the same. You know, I really want to know what high school was like for y'all. Did y'all wear uniforms? What kind of lunch did y'all eat? Did y'all have to deal with metal detectors? Like,
Well, see, for me, school wasn't too easy for me just because of my, you know, my ADHD was everywhere, and
right.
you know, I struggled to focus. Back then, we didn't have issues with cell phones in school,
Right.
you know, because cell phones weren't really prevalent. I actually grew up in the time where we had pagers. And I kind of show my age too. We didn't have pagers in high school, but we did have pagers during that time frame. So we didn't really, you know, we didn't have a lot of distractions that these kids have.
Right.
So I can kind of see how focus is kind of jaded because they have so many different distractions. And also what I realized too is that all the distractions that they have is a protection kind of mechanism. You know, the cell phone, right? Some kids bringing guns to school. That's, you know, for protection.
Definitely is.
You know, so that's why when they tell these kids that they can't have cell phones, they don't know how to act, right? Because they feel like that disconnects them from the world. You know.
You know, I would argue that nowadays it does, to where back in the day, if you had a cell phone, you were the odd man out. But now, you know, technology and cell phones are so integrated into our society, into the way we move. You know, a lot of these teachers are getting their whole lessons plans off of Quizlet. So it's not hard for these teachers or for these students to cheat because they know exactly where to find it. And teachers are doing the same thing. They getting their lessons plan off of ChatGPT.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
I think before I get into how I feel about it, I'll just start by saying, for me, for my high school experience, lunch was trash. You know what I'm saying? But they did offer pizza every day. Our senior prank day, it was wild. We damn near flooded the school. We had this big old water balloon fight. It was crazy. It's on YouTube. It was crazy. You know, we had fights like every other generation. And, you know, there was for sure some substances flowing around the school. And there were times where people did bring guns into school. You know, I graduated from Rogers in 22. But if you ask anybody from that time frame, if you say Rogers and orange in the same sentence, they gonna know that, you know, somebody threw an orange at lunch and people came up into the school with poles and the whole school was on lockdown. I get it. And what I do recognize, or how I see this issue, is that kids today are just dealing with the effects of that in real time. You know, they didn't implement all that while we were clowning back in the day. I just watched this video with my brother of Scott some years ago. Everybody had them big old clothes on, just throwing. He said, "Oh yeah, this was the Crip hallway." You feel me? Everybody just throwing up their Crip or whatever, and it was on that. But you know what the kids are experiencing today is the effect of everything that's been going on over the generations. But you know, don't get me confused though, because everything I mentioned before is definitely still going on today. You know, the way that I see it though is that these schools have been clowning for decades, and now this generation just has to feel it harder than anyone else before. You know, now we've got this, like you said, this statewide no cell phone policy in Ohio, and they're enforcing these cell phone lock bags and all kind of stuff. And I had a student tell me that they went into the school to get some resources. She said it looked like a TSA airport entrance, you know what I'm saying? So I'm a little torn by this. I'm a little torn by it only off the strength that I get safety. I understand that this stuff is still going on. I understand what's in our schools and what can be putting our kids at danger. You know, making schools feel more and more like jail just don't feel like the way to me, man.
So you feel like the prevention measures that they're taking is making the school seem more of an institution?
I definitely think it's institutionalized, but I think that my main idea about it is that we're already struggling nationwide with attendance.
Okay.
And I can't see how, institutionalizing these schools and stripping kids of resources that they've grown familiar with their whole life. The kids that are in school now have never been alive without a smartphone. So I think that I can't see how that's making these kids excited to learn and grow in these environments.
Well, I think it's a tactic to lessen screen time and get us to understand how important it is to minimize screen time. Because if you look at this, how addicted the generation is, that kind of shows that kind of identifies a problem, a way bigger problem, right? That we can't even be without our phones for 8 hours a day to go to an institution where you're supposed to learn and grow.
And I understand that, and I think that the problem doesn't only sit with the youth, because I think it would be a whole different conversation if they were expecting the staff and teachers to do so. I work at a high school, and I'm not expected to put my phone away, but with this being in effect, I'm going to be really intentional about modeling the correct behavior, because I don't want my students to feel like I'm above, their systems as well. If y'all got to come here and put these resources to the side, then we got to figure out how to do it together.
I respect that.
And, a lot of teachers aren't going to move the same way. Like I said, a lot of teachers have been doing it for 20 years, where they go straight to Quizlet and get their lesson plans, and they're not really gonna know what to do if they can't do that. And also, I can't imagine a lot of teachers are gonna model this behavior.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So, like I said, I definitely understand both perspectives, but I am torn about it, because I struggle. My job working in these schools is to, kind of encourage these kids to get their education and to see the value in school. And it's gonna be very hard to kind of convince a kid, like, yeah, everything that you knew about school is different, but still pull up, you know what I'm saying? Especially, man, like I said, it's just something psychological about going through a metal detector every day. It's different. People say, like, oh, they're like that at airports, and they did that, and I wasn't here for that, but after 9/11, that's when they beefed it up. Like,
yeah. I also think too that this approach will prepare the kids for the real world as well. Because there's going to be periods of their lives and throughout the day where they can't have their phones, right? If you're working at the factory, or if you work in a job that demands, all of your attention, then you're not going to be able to be on your cell phone or use your cell phone as a means of distraction. Because that's really what it is. Because now the question is, what are they distracted? Why are they distracted? Or why are they trying to distract themselves instead of paying attention to the current lesson? You know what I mean? I think it's a huge conversation.
Man, it is a huge conversation. That's why I like the back and forth, because there's definitely a whole bunch of different perspectives we could take.
Yeah, because you come from the generation who, you're not too far from them.
Listen. Let's remind I started this podcast. We're on Ep.6. The first episode was dropped on my 21st birthday. I just said earlier in the show that I graduated Rogers High School 2022.
The boy's a baby.
You feel me? So, like, I definitely, man, I was talking about myself. I've never been alive where there wasn't a smartphone present. Now, in my household, I didn't get a cell phone until, I think, 7th grade.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I had to, learn how to be social and learn how to interact and whatnot growing up. I wasn't an iPad baby, but at the same time, I definitely understand that the world is taking a transition. The world is going towards we're having a digital revolution, and everything that we do now is integrated with different technologies and AI, and they use AI to do job applications. So
they do. That's true.
You can use AI to create your resumes. You can use AIs to do so. It's just so much resources that it's integrated into already, that if we're still giving the same work that's coming from the websites and from online, and then taking that resource away from the kids, it's kind of putting them at a disadvantage. Even though I do see the other side of, maybe they're not really learning it, but are the teachers really teaching it?
Right. Yeah, man, that was a good discussion, man.
For sure. Before we cap this discussion off, I actually have youth that wanted to give their perspective on this. Okay. And this is a special one because she wanted to put in a voice submission. It might be a little short because I did tell her to keep it at a minute, because you know this young lady can talk.
All right.
But we love it because she's able to always add the best perspective to the show. So with that being said, we'll play that right now.
Okay, let's do it.
What up, Muddy Cast? I told y'all I'm always gonna be back. But I'm here to talk about the no cell phone policy and the metal detectors. How I feel about them and why I feel like they ridiculous. First off, y'all got them TSA airport searches. For what reason? I don't know. But if y'all got that in order for y'all to be finding our phones and stuff, that is freaking delusional and dumb. Second, the no cell phone policy, I don't mess with too much because first off, I'm a person with a disability and I need to be able to call my mom if something goes wrong, you know? So, I don't got time for people to be looking at my 900 number, asking all these questions, what's going on and all this. Like, I need to be able, if I feel the type of way and I know I need my mom to get me through there and this, that, and that, I need to be able to text my mom, like, Mom, this is going on and this, that, and that.
Yeah, so, like, I know this young lady, and I will say that while it does sound like an excuse, because, you know, within this no cell phone policy, obviously there's procedures and protocols for people who need medical attention, you know, going to the nurse and being able to do the right systems to get yourself taken care of. However, knowing this young lady personally, I do know that she does struggle with a very serious illness. And, you know, for the sake of being anonymous, I'm not going to share what that is, but some of the symptoms, you know, she said there really aren't many early signs of it. You know, you're kind of just down and out once it happens, and it's something that it's a disease that the Black community struggles with.
Okay.
And so I'm sure you probably can, you know, sing a couple of them. You know, the point of me playing that was just for y'all not to hear us talk all day. To really hear the people that's gonna have to live through this new reality and hear how they feel about it. So yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Understand it from her perspective, and I can see how taking the cell phone away from her and that, you know, with her circumstances, how it can impact her negatively. So I mean, I think it should just be on a case-by-case basis. Like you know, like before, the bigger picture is eliminating distractions.
For sure.
Right.
And even to me, my bad. I don't
go ahead, brother.
To me, the biggest picture, or, you know, what's tearing me or what's keeping me torn between the two is the safety aspect. You know, I think that there is a safety concern. There are substances flowing through the school. There is times where kids are able to bring weapons into school, or parents or family can, and that has to be addressed by any means necessary. However, I think that we also have to be intentional about making sure that these schools feel like a safe place to learn and grow.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of hard. I mean, you know, just kind of speaking from the things that I've learned, you know, in law enforcement, I mean, you kind of got to start from ground zero. Mm-hmm. And as you start to make decisions and eliminate things, you start to see what works.
That makes sense.
But it's just hard because, you know, if you don't take away the cell phones, that gives you the ability to get more access to the school, you know, with a simple phone call. You know, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. What I want to say though is the biggest problem is that the youth aren't mature enough to handle their cell phones while being in a learning institution. And I think let's just be honest. That's the biggest problem, is the maturity level of some of our youth. And that can stem from many different things too. I think that's where we start. We start at looking at the social emotional level of these kids, you know, where they are on a social level, you know, emotionally as well, and you know, because you can already tell, you know, when something happens, a lot of these kids respond, and a lot of the children respond, you know, in an abrupt manner without even thinking. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And a lot of that is because they're not trained to, you know, when I was younger, it was always stop and think. You know, like literally stop and think was a huge campaign. Right? And because what that does is it prompts you to take a moment and to evaluate what's going on and be present, right? Because if you take a moment and evaluate what's going on, you may even understand that the feeling that you thought you had is not even that, it's recognized as something different.
Right.
You know?
A lot of times kids think that they mad at the world, pissed off, but they may just be a little irritated.
Or embarrassed.
may be embarrassed. They may be a little anxious.
Yeah.
You know, they may have a little anxiety, and that's making them angry, and they
Exactly.
don't know how to process that. So I definitely agree with that.
Yes, sir.
And the last thing I'll say about this is that, you know, if we do implement, or not even if we do, because it's happening, just so y'all know, it's going to happen. It's
Right.
happening now. The metal detectors are already at y'all schools. The pouch is already there. And I agree with what you said earlier. This is gonna have some imperfections when it starts. But if it's gonna be effective, we have to be able to try and weed some of these imperfections out. And you know, I just prioritize safety, making sure that school feels like a safe place, and school feels like a place where you want to grow.
Yeah.
And you know, that's the message. So
Yes, sir.
let's just transition, because one thing I can say is that Toledo has been doing its thing when it's with the back to school events.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man, I've seen dozens of flyers, tons of engagement,
Yep.
and you know, it's always a good thing when, you know, folks in the community can make some shape for our young people. So, you know, even if you miss some of these, there are still events this week before school starts, and I'll just share some of those with y'all real quick, you know, so don't even trip.
All right, brother, let's get it.
So the first event, and I'll put all this in the description for y'all, but this episode, it airs on Tuesday. Let's look at the day on that. Episode gonna air on Tuesday the 19th, so these are gonna be all events that's happening from that point on. The first one is going to be the book bag giveaway at Bible Way Church. That's 2030 Putnam, that's PUTNAM, from noon to 2 p.m. That's August 23rd. The phone number listed is 567-698-8438. Next is the BRB Run Club that's hosting a supply drive. Actually, I just met some of the folks from the BRB Run Club.
Yeah, but I happen to run with them sometimes. So
Yeah, man. So
they're
great
doing
people,
great work.
Great people. And that's going to be on August 22nd at the Glass City Riverwalk, and that's on 1521 Front Street from 4 to 7 p.m. And the final one, there's a really good event happening on the same day as the book bag giveaway with Bible Way Church. On the flyer, it says you can expect food, bouncy houses, and even 30 free haircuts to the boys and 30 free hairstyles for the girls. This event is happening on 1776 Arlington Ave from noon to 4. And it says that the hair is going to be first come, first serve. So get y'all babies right, man. Again, this is going to be on August 23rd.
Got a lot of stuff happening, man.
Yeah,
a lot of good stuff happening.
And like I said, I've seen over 20 flyers, so it's been over 20 events, but these just the last minute before. If you forgot, you feel me, go ahead and get what you need, because school's coming and y'all need to be prepared. And speaking of being prepared, before we move on, I just want to remind parents that, you know, it's cool to send your kids to school in the newest J's, or, you know, even the latest Amiris, because I know how these young parents come in now.
Right.
But you know, you do want to make sure that your kids got their minds on right before they step back into the classroom.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Go to that parent-teacher conference, get familiar with the environment that your kid's about to be learning in, because it's changing. It's not the same as when you were in school. It wasn't the same as when you were in school 2 years ago. So the transition back to structure from summer break can be real, and it can be challenging. So, you know, help them process that in a healthy way.
Yeah.
You got anything you want to share, Milt?
Yeah, man. I just want to say, parents, you know, ask your kids how they feel about going back to school, you know, and not just, you know, the supplies that they need. I feel like that conversation matters, and that conversation can take you a long way with your kids.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. All right, man. So next up is, as always, our Muddy Spotlight. And for those who are new, that's where we give flowers to people and programs that are really making an impact. And my spotlight this week goes to my first ever mentor, who's also my older brother, and his name is Mike Mims. On top of being my brother, on top of being my mentor, he's now also my co-worker and fellow violence interrupter. You know, he's based at Scott. And without saying too much, just know that he's living proof that you can turn your life around. Someone asked me the other day, who taught you what it means to be a man? You know, there was no other man that I could think of than Bulin himself. You know, that's his nickname. And I watched him transition into the man that, you know, prioritizes his family and passion for helping others. He's going to be a little irritated that I'm bringing this up, because he's been on my ass about getting started myself, but he recently enrolled to school for social work, and, you know, he's been going crazy. This is the same dude who used to get letters in the mail saying that he virtually had no shot at graduation. You know, my boy's going crazy. He got over a 3.0. He just got his first scholarship. So, you know, I just want to brag on my boy and tell him I couldn't be prouder, and that your little brother always watching you. And, let me pass it off to Milt before, I get choked up in here, man.
My Muddy Spotlight is going to go to a few people that are out there and a few organizations that are out there doing great things for our community. My first spotlight is going to go out to my organization, Foundation, Bake on Yourself Foundation. And what that is a mentorship program. Our main focus is to heal the boy to save the man. So is this a cultural approach on helping young men navigate through the Juvenile Justice Center and also through some of the things that they go through life that maybe some people don't understand from their point of view or from their lens. Another person I want to shout out is my pastor, Reverend C.L. Johnson. He's doing great work not only with our congregation but with his passion to help just lead the youth and to help them understand that you can serve. You don't have to be inside a church to serve God and to be that man or woman that God calls you to be. And then also just shout out to all the mentors and all the people who putting in the work, man, to help to help make this a better world, man. It's a better city, man, just shout out to all our people, man, because community ain't built by talk. It's all built by action.
More. Community ain't built by talk. That's something Fred Hampton to say.
It's built by action, brother. It's all built by action. Yes, sir.
We are approaching the end of the show, but before we do that, man, just let me acknowledge one thing, and it's that I'm just really excited to take this show to the next level, especially with my boy Milton by my side.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna work on some light rebranding to include Milton better into the framework of the show, but nothing too crazy. With that being said, y'all know that we've gotta sign off with some words of advice, and we're gonna let Milton kick it off, and I'll take us home.
All right. So if you take nothing from today, I want you to remember that consistency beats adversity every single time. All right. You don't just survive the mud, you grow in it. And like one of our youth said, being ready, it's not a feeling, it's a decision. So I appreciate y'all for rocking with us. And, this is just the beginning.
For sure.
Yes, sir.
So look, my advice is to recognize when the force of average is in play. You don't be that one that stopped digging 6 inches away from gold. Look, man, so with this being our first show with our co-host, we're going to sign this thing off together. You've just watched episode 6 of the Muddy Mindset podcast with your muddy mentors, Beezy.
And I'm Milt.
We out.
We out, baby.
Let's do it.
Yes, sir.